Kenny, just how good is it to feel? How good is it to be home now?
Oh man, it feels great. A lot of joy in here. Like just always feel good to be home, laying in your own bed, be around family. I think we just excited just to be home, get the home energy, home crowd, and just ready to put on the show.
What a review of the first two games maybe had you guys about this series so far?
We played well. Offensively and defensively. Some shots not falling. Defensively, we had some mistakes that cost us. But I think we got the game plan down and the adjustment in game 3.
You guys had kind of these ups and downs shooting wise. How do you, especially when the stakes are this high, when there's this pressure, how do you kind of push through that and still kind of keep the faith and do the guys?
Just keep shooting, keep making the right play. We put 2 on the ball, just find the open guy. I think the more we continue to do that, trusting each other, I think the shooting, it will go start to make shots and start to find some easy looks too.
And being at home be something that lifts those spirits, like the Sacks.
For sure. Like I said earlier, like being home, is gonna definitely give a lot of confidence, to us, as far as shooting the ball offensively, defensively, being a little bit more aggressive, getting that energy from the crowd. I think it's going to be great for us.
You guys have gone into halftime in good positions. What do you think about the way you guys have started the third quarter?
It's been a problem for us, all season, and that's one thing we truly have to fix, especially right now in these playoffs, especially Game 3 as well. And we just got to come out with whatever it may be, a little bit more focused, get out of the locker room, out of film early, get shots up, go through things that we reviewed in the locker room with one of the coaches or whatever it may be. We definitely got to come out prepared for the third quarter.
Why do you think that suddenly changed now?
What else?
Why do you think, you mentioned it's been a problem the whole season, why do you think now things seem like coming out of half?
Man, I think just starting the third quarter is, I think it's big, in this playoffs. Like throughout the regular season, that's the time where you might be up 20, you might be down 20. How you gonna come out the locker room with what type of energy you gonna come out with? And I think for us, it just we come out a little bit slower than normal, and then it picks back up. But I think we got to come out and start, the third quarter how we start the games.
What did you make of your shot selections, the shots you got in Game 2?
Great. They were great shots. Most of them I was open, some was contested. They just didn't go down. I'm continuing to shoot the ball at a high clip, especially when I'm open, and they just continue to make the right play.
Kenny, at what point, I know you guys talked about Boston held serve, they did what they're supposed to do, now we got to do what but at what point is it like, there's some pressure here, like we got to get this done?
Yeah, we definitely got to get it done. We down 2-0. We don't feel the pressure, but it is pressure. But we're home, and we're going to feed off that. And we come here to take care of home.
What did you make of the crowd reaction in Boston to you?
I had that before. They like getting a little booze, I must be doing something right. It was fun, just a little bit more energy for me. I wish I had knock down some shots, would have been a lot better. But I try to do everything possible to try to get the win for my team. And if I'm not making shots, I do defend at a high level. That's what I'll be focused.
Should they call more plays for you where you're coming off a screen and maybe get some more catch and shoot opportunities?
I would love that for sure. But like for me, it's just finding my open spaces, being ready to shoot when Paulo, Fern, or like anybody create for us. That's one thing I've done, my whole career, just being a 3 and D guy and being ready to shoot.
Shooters had games like they had last year. Something we usually have kind of some rough shooting set. What's your process to like kind of shake that off and move on in this game?
Just let it go. For me, it's talking to my family, my friends, just about the game. What they see. They might see something a little different. But for me, just trying to forget about it. I can't dwell on like what I did with Game 2. Game 3 is here today, and I gotta be prepared.
What have you made of the way that Powell and Franz have played through this first football offense?
They played great. Like I said, man, them guys, they create a lot for us offensively. And we need them guys a lot. So the team to do that, team to put two guys on the ball and find open up.
How do you think the team adjusted to the defensive pressure of Boston from game 1 to game 2?
I think we adjusted well. You know, I feel like the pressure was the same from game 1 to game 2 for us. I feel like we haven't even played at our best. I feel like we can turn it up a little bit more. Like this is tonight.
Coach, last season we saw how much home court can swing a series. Harkening back to that, when you look back at that, what did you see swing from games 1 and 2 last year to games 3 and 4?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of similarities. I think game 1 in Cleveland lost by 14. Game 1 in Boston lost by 17. Game 2 you lose by 10 in Cleveland. You lose by 9 in Boston. So I think there's the similarities there, score-wise, but the energy of the crowd, the being able to be at home, sleep in your own bed, get your practice reps here in our building, in our facility, and then just our home crowd. And we know exactly how energized they are for us to be back home.
Piggybacking off of that home crowd, like you talked about, just last year, what do you remember that kind of just set the tone, and what do you, and how do you want to see that again going into this game?
I don't talk about game 3 as much because I just really remember game 6 more than anything. The energy from the crowd, the enthusiasm of the game, knowing it was a must-get game, and the way our guys responded, the way our fans responded, the way they got behind our guys. That energizes this group. The way in which they're able to feed off the energy and the way in which they play, that does something for the home team.
All down to how much incentive is there for you guys to do alterations to your rotation or anything like that?
I think it just continues to be a chess match. With Tatum being out one game, it changes a lot of things, and there's some similarities to last year in just the adjustments of certain guys being in, certain guys being out. But we'll look at it as the game goes on, being able to get a real game feel, who's got a great flow going, and what we need to see, and what we'll need to see from certain guys as they step into the game.
Kind of harkening back on last year's experience, how do you see this team handling the pressure of being down 2-0 differently from last year?
Well, there's a resolve to them that they understand they've been here before, and when you can actually say that because we've been in an identical situation. So a different team, obviously, and you're facing the champions, but understanding exactly what you need to do to get yourself out from being down 2-0.
Cole was only able to play 5 minutes in game 2. How difficult has this series been for him, and how do you get more out of him on the floor?
We talked about it a ton. He and I sat together in my office yesterday just breaking down film, understanding some different pieces and how important he is in these situations. And he understands it, just what he means to this team and how he knows he needs to play and continue to be fearless in all of his decision making, both offensively and defensively.
How do you evaluate your team, how well your team has utilized the skills KCP has on offense in the first 2 games of the series, and what can you guys do to get him to help him be more productive?
Well, I ultimately think that, finding the right looks and great situations for him and just letting him be able to continue to step in with confidence of what he's doing. His defensive energy has been great, the way he's getting into the ball, getting over screens. They talk about some hits that he's received, on some screens getting over in the pick and roll. So that I think he's done a great job of, battling that, but then also being able to, find the open windows when those guys are double teaming Paolo or Franz.
You look at the film from game 1 and 2, how small were the margins? How close was this to being 1-1 or a different story coming home?
Super close. I think those are the scenarios that we talked about, throughout this year for this group. There's a tiny margin whether that's free throw count, defending without fouling, finishing possessions with the rebound, making sure we don't give them 20-second chance points in one game and 17 in another. We've got to make sure we clean up the glass and give ourselves that opportunity by crashing the glass.
I know you guys talked about they did what they're supposed to do. 2 up there, now you got to do here. But at what point does that become pressure? Like, this is real, it's time.
When the home team loses.
Hey,
Not yet.
so Callum is playing really good this season, but you look at the bench, you got to get some more production there. Does that start early in the game? Do you just try to get more guys involved early, or is it just like a flow kind of thing?
It's a flow. It's definitely a flow. And throughout the year, guys have had different opportunities. Different guys step up and step in. And by committee is how we do things. And finding guys to get their opportunity in those moments. And like we talk about, these guys don't need to have any fear. And when they step into the game, we have the utmost confidence in what they're capable of doing as soon as they step into the game.
In terms of injuries, aside from Mo and Jalen, who you know are out, how are you guys doing there?
We are physically in a great space right now.
Mentally, how's that?
What's that?
Mentally, how's that?
Mentally, we are in a great space right now.
see them begin to help shift the series?
I think our defensive focus, limiting the little small mistakes. We talk about the margin for error, so our ability to communicate better, getting to three-point shooters, understanding when and where we're helping, but mostly it's cleaning up the glass. The 17 and 20 points off of second chance points is what we got. We definitely have to clean that up.
We talked with Kenny this morning a lot about third quarter worse, and coming out of halftime stronger. He said he wanted to see you guys start the third quarter the way you start the games. Just at this point in the year, what's key to doing that?
Just coming together as a group, getting that energy, getting warmed up early, knowing how we have to, start that third quarter off is so important. Coming out of halftime, just getting your body warmed, ready to go and locked in, and that same intensity that you start the game with, we've definitely got to come out with that same focus.
Jamal, how would you evaluate the way that your offense has performed through the first 2 games of the series?
Up and down. I think we challenged the guys to push the pace in the second game, try to get out and transition that first game. I think we did a better job in that second game. Got some open looks in game 2 as well as game 1. Some of those didn't fall, but I think our ability to get up and down the court, make or miss is very important for us.
You guys have been able to erase some double-digit deficits, I believe, in the first half. But how important is it, or would it be to play from ahead in a game like this with the margin so tight?
That would be great.
To change the game when you're playing from ahead as opposed to playing from behind?
Well, I mean, just, your back's not against the wall in those situations. And I think, they're also going to come out with hits, and we know it's a game of runs, both, back and forth. So our ability to withstand those runs has been great for this group. But then the ability to, get ahead in those moments, a couple free throws here changes the dynamic of a game. A foul call here, call there changes it. And so I think our ability to have that level of focus tonight is going to be very key.
A couple nights ago in Boston, you had talked about there was a moment where 2 or more of your the starters had 2 or more fouls at one point or another. When you guys obviously want to play a physical brand of basketball, it's a part of your identity. But is there conversations that need to be had about trying to scale it back in order to prevent you guys from getting into foul trouble, or is that more so a feel of the game depending on how the whistle's being called?
Yeah, I thought about that. It's funny you should ask that. I thought about which direction to go in that route. And then you go back and look at the film, and you look at the difference in calls. And so the call that was Wendell gets the foul on Al Horford going to the right, bumps him. Paolo gets the same thing at the end of the quarter, same bump. So it's not necessarily that we're changing style of play. We're going to stay just as physical, stay same aggressive. It's just, can we now attack the basket with more force? So now that whistle has to blow because you can't get away from it.
You talked a little bit about it this morning, but the impact of, injuries on Boston throughout the course of the series. How do you kind of tailor your game plan to who might be in, who might be out, different versions of that Boston team? I know you saw a bunch of different versions of them throughout the year. How does that game plan evolve as you see guys going in and out throughout the course of a day?
I mean, having played them throughout the year, and that's been the case, you're able to go back and look at those films when Tatum didn't play, if Brown doesn't play, Holiday, all these guys they have different moments of guys being out. Porzingis goes out in a game. So you can go back and look at the games, but the substitution pattern will change, and I think that's when you have to really rely on the feel and the flow of the game and how you adjust in real time.
Different with and without Tatum through the 2 games so far you've seen?
I really just think he creates so much offense for them, that constant threat of being able to give you 20-plus a night, and then you have to put sometimes 2 bodies on him. The switching is different with him on the floor. He just creates so much weight when he has that basketball. So our ability to stay focused on him, allows those others to get themselves going. And then when he does not play, the other guys look to get themselves going, as we saw the other night.
What challenges did you guys face defending Porzingis in Game 2, and how do you want to kind of tailor your game plan defensively against him and his size in Game 3?
I mean, he's such a threat. He the way he spaces the floor at the 3-point line, you've got to make sure you get to him. Then you look to switch sometimes, and so then he creates that matchup problem depending on the size that you have on him. And then his unique ability to find a way to get fouled. And I think that's what the biggest problem is how do you find a way to do all this without fouling him? Because he does a great job of creating that contact, whether your hands are up or not. He finds a way to rake through those arms.
Jamal, you were in this situation last year, and you came back and beat the Cavs by 38 in Game 3. How do you expect this version of your team to respond to this moment, this energy from this crowd, the home court, all that stuff?
I expect a great response from our group. The crowd is going to be right behind us. The level of focus of our guys, the intensity of this game is going to be big. Is it going to be 30-plus? I don't know. But I know we're going to give ourselves a chance to get out there and fight in front of our home crowd.
Typically in the postseason, we see rotations kind of tighten up, usually 8-9. Last game, you went to an 11-man rotation. Some of those guys obviously in single digits. Just what went into that decision? And then do you plan on trying to continue to go that many deep into your rotation?
Well, I think a lot of that is based on, where the flow of the game is, as well as, where you're finding some, some sparks. And I think in those moments, that's what you look for. And we've talked about being a deep team, a unique team, that we've had a 10-11 rotation for the last month of the season because of, guys being in, guys being out, but also getting a spark from different guys. So it'll be a little bit of that as we move forward.
Thank you, Coach Mose.
Thank you, guys.
What up, gang? Welcome in. Jake Chapman here with you. It is Magic Game Day Courtside Countdown, and here we are. We are getting set for game number 3 against the Boston Celtics. A 2-0 series lead, unfortunately, for Boston. We still don't know exactly who we're going to see tonight, although we do have some news on the injury front. Jason Tatum has been upgraded from doubtful to questionable for today's game. Let's see, right now we're about 2 minutes away from Joe Mazzulla's pregame press conference. I doubt he's going to give us any insight as to who's available, but this afternoon, Jaylen Brown was added to the injury report. He's listed as questionable, dealing with one of those impingements in his right knee, and then, of course, you got Drew Holiday, who was added yesterday to the injury report. He's dealing with a hamstring. So you could be down 3 of 5 Boston starters tonight. Certainly that would give the Magic a leg up. But regardless, this team is, even if they're missing Drew, Jason, and Jaylen Brown, this team is capable of still beating you. Peyton Pritchard and Derek White have been thorns in the Magic's side through 2 games of this series. But a lot of history on our side tonight as we get set for the Boston Celtics. Just a reminder, we'll be on 96.9 The Game, our flagship station here in Central Florida. Pregame at 6:30 with this guy. That's Brendan Kravitz. He's doing his radio show right now in the zone on 96.9 The Game. He'll have the pregame at 6:30. I'll have the call at 7 o'clock. You can stream us in Central Florida on the iHeartRadio app, on the Orlando Magic app. If you're outside of the listening area, check us out on Sirius XM or on the NBA League Audio Pass. We got comments coming in. My boys, Will Dawson, Jay Curve, what up, what up, what up? Angel Hernandez is in the house. If you guys have any comments, questions, I'm wondering, it's an old adage in the NBA. Whenever you come home, the role players are always much more comfortable, especially young role players, in their home arena. Who's going to be the X factor tonight? Who's going to be the third man tonight? Who's going to chip in and help out Paolo and Franz a little bit on the offensive side of the ball? If you guys want to respond here in the comment section on the YouTube page, feel free. I will let you know how I feel. Thinking Cole Anthony. Coach Mosley told us this morning at shoot-around that he had a chat with Cole in his office yesterday. They watched some film. They just went over some ins and outs, but he encouraged him. He's going to be a part of this series, and we're going to need him. Minutes have been hard to come by as far as the second unit goes because Coach Mosley doesn't have much time to figure out who has it night in and night out. And really, going back since the Jaylen injury, so we're talking about 3 months now, essentially, it's kind of been, okay, Cole's got it tonight. He'll play 24 minutes. Caleb Houston's knocking down shots tonight. He'll be on the floor in crunch time. Coach Mosley, Dan Savage refers to it as the lottery ticket. Coach Mosley's got a couple different lottery tickets off that bench, but against Boston, you just don't have much time to figure out who's got the jumper going. You get 5 or 6 minutes in the first half, and if you're ineffective, you might not play in the second half. That's the nature of the postseason. It's also the nature of a team with a pretty deep bench, but not clearly defined roles, and the injuries have just sort of thrown all of that into turmoil over the course of the season. So Coach Mosley doing what he has to do. I expect Cole Anthony to play a big role potentially tonight, but certainly before the series is said and done. And I think Anthony Black is the guy tonight. I thought AB looked sort of like a deer in the headlights in Game 1. Important to remember, AB was not a part of the rotation last year. He played 11 playoff minutes over the course of that 7-game series against Cleveland, and it was all essentially garbage time. And AB has grown into a major role. You can call him a sixth man. He plays a lot of games in crunch time. Because his position is not necessarily defined. He could play on or off the ball, and defensively he's so good. I expect to see him on the floor in crunch time tonight, but I expect to see him, Game 1 it was rough. Game 2 he scored 11 points, had 4 rebounds. I'm expecting one of those 15 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists type outings tonight from Anthony Black. I think being back home, feeling the juice of the crowd, and starting to get his legs underneath him a little bit, understanding what playoff basketball is all about, and understanding what this team needs him to do, which is be aggressive when he's on the floor, especially when he's on the floor without both Paolo and Franz. If he's the secondary playmaker on the floor, Anthony Black needs to put his head down, get to the bucket, collapse the defense. He's capable of doing that. We've seen him do it all season long, maybe not as consistently as we'd like, but AB with the ball in his hands, attacking, getting into the paint, and then either dumping off or trying to finish through contact. That is when he's at his best. And so I'm expecting to see that sort of a return to that level of play, I think, tonight from Anthony Black. Let's see. We got some comments coming in here. Will Dawson said AB got his feet wet in Boston. He's due for a three-pointer or two. That would be nice, obviously, if you can knock down shots from the perimeter. I'm certainly expecting a bounce-back effort tonight from Contavious Caldwell-Pope. there is something to be said for playing at home, the energy that you get, but also just the comfort level, the sight lines, even if you are a veteran like Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Look, this Magic team, these numbers just leap off the page at you. I saw this one today. Let me pull it up real fast here. Going back to last year's postseason, so you're talking about 3 playoff games here at the Kia Center last year against Cleveland. You include the play-in game, so 4 home playoff games versus 6 road playoff games going back to the beginning of last year's postseason. The Magic averaged 22 more points per game at home than they do out on the road going back to the beginning of last year as far as playoff games go. So it's a small sample size, but this Magic team has obviously been a completely different animal in the playoffs in this building, and I expect the atmosphere to be absolutely electric here tonight. And then, of course, we remember what happened Game 3 last year. Magic offense in Cleveland was a 0. I mean, he just couldn't scored 83 and 86 points in Games 1 and 2 last year in Cleveland. Donovan Mitchell looked like the clear-cut best player on the floor. You come back home for Game 3. It's your first home playoff game for guys like Franz and Paolo. Didn't really know exactly what to expect, and what we got was a 38-point blowout of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So kind of a similar feeling right now. I think this Boston team is better than that Cleveland team was last year. I don't think many people would disagree with me about that. But Boston has injury concerns, obviously, and this Magic team we've seen going back to the beginning of last year just plays differently here at the Kia Center. It's so predicated on defense. When you get that extra little half step and that extra little bit of juice from the crowd, it can make a big difference. And then obviously the officiating, you typically get a little bit more friendly a whistle when you're at home. And that's been a big key here in this series. The Magic needed to be the more physical team. They, I think, have been as physical as you would want them to be. I actually asked Coach Mosley about that this morning. The free throw disparity is certainly a concern. Coach Mosley said this morning, and he just said in his pregame press conference, bottom line is we're not getting the same whistle they are. We need to attack the basket with a little bit more force and just sort of force the issue there. He said, I'm very comfortable with how we're playing with our physicality level and how we're playing defensively. Look, the Celtics shot 33 free throws in Game 2. They made 25 of them. I think that's probably going a little bit overboard, but you never know what it's going to look like night to night as far as the officiating crew goes. And to me, the Magic's best chance in this series, especially with a team like Boston who thrives on rhythm and perimeter shooting, is to beat them up, is to sort of toe that line, maybe go over it from time to time. Of physicality, defending. They can't call a foul at every play. That's not to say foul them on every play, but I think we got to junk the game up against this Boston team. And so the physicality is obviously a big key. It has been all season long. Coach Mosley said, if you don't like how physical we're being, then you obviously haven't watched us this year, because that is what this team does. Certainly, they have brought it to the Boston Celtics in Games 1 and 2, and towing that line and figuring out a way to keep them off the free throw line, that's not really of Coach Mosley's concern. He's more concerned with getting to the free throw line on the other end and attacking the basket with a little bit more force. And I think you saw that in Game 2. Progress, anyways, as far as attempts in the paint and converting shots in the paint. Game 1, the Magic were 14 of 36 in the paint. Game 2, the Magic were 23 of 36 in the paint. I wouldn't mind seeing more attempts in the paint, period, but the bottom line is you converted on a lot more in Game 2 when you were able to get into the teeth of the defense. And Kristaps Porzingis is at the center of sort of all of this, pun not intended. Kristaps Porzingis has committed 2 personal fouls in 30 minutes a game in Games 1 and 2. We can't have that. I'm not saying you got to get him in foul trouble to get him off the floor. I'm saying we need to take the ball into Kristaps Porzingis' chest. And yes, he's one of the best rim protectors. I understand that, but you can't just shy away from what really the DNA offensively of this basketball team is, which is attacking, specifically with Franz and Paolo, but other guys moving off ball when Paolo's creating in the mid-range, attacking the basket, getting to the free throw line, and then knocking them down. And I think without Kristaps Porzingis sort of manning the middle and controlling the game, I think this Magic offense will certainly jump. And then you start creating those kick-out opportunities, those paint touches. I think that's when this Magic offense is functioning at its peak, is when you're going inside out. You're starting with attacking the bucket. You're getting to the free throw line. The other thing is this Boston team is so rhythm-based. We saw the turnovers play a big key in Game 1. When you start giving them anything easy, it's lights out because they get out in transition and they're getting threes up. Every single one of the guys on the floor basically can stop on a dime and get a three up. And you'll see, I mean, basically the Magic, there's a couple things to clean up, right? You're talking about second chance points, 17 in game 1, 20 in game 2. You can't have that. The free throw disparity, the Magic left points at the free throw line in game 2. But this has been a pretty evenly matched series. The Magic have been right there. Certainly at halftime, they had a lead, a 1-point lead in game 1. They were down by 2 in game 2 at half. We're talking about 2 and 3 minute stretches, and they both come in the third quarter that have been the difference in games 1 and 2. And disrupting Boston's rhythm and avoiding that 12-2 run over a 2-minute stretch, that is a huge key because when you have a perimeter shooting team like them getting up almost 53s a night, you have to disrupt the rhythm somehow. And one of the best ways to disrupt the team's offensive rhythm is to make them stand at the free throw line while you shoot 2. And so if Paolo could get to 10-plus free throw attempts tonight, I think that would be key. But the Magic team, I think, needs to be up over 24 free throw attempts tonight or something along those lines, at least over 20. You got to convert them as well. But I want to see those free throw numbers, and I'm not talking about the makes. I'm talking about the attempts a little bit closer than they've been over the course of the last couple games. Checking out your comments here in the YouTube comment section. Jake Chapman with you. We're going to have the pregame show at 6:30, 96.9 The Game. You can stream us in Central Florida on the Orlando Magic app or on the iHeartRadio app as well, and then outside of the listening area on Sirius XM and on NBA League Audio Pass. Cole Anthony down there getting free throws up. It's been a frustrating series for Cole, to be sure. Played 5 minutes the other night, and it was all in the first half and was held scoreless. And I think that's part of the reason that Coach Mosley pulled him in. Look, Cole has dealt with this all season long. He was out of the rotation in November, ends up winning you a massive game in December and working his way back into the rotation. Thinking back to that Miami game, the 25-point comeback, and Cole was absolutely phenomenal in that one. He's kind of the spirit animal of this team. It's weird to think about, but now in year 5, he's one of your veterans, and he's one of the only guys who you can sort of hand the ball to and say, go get us some offense. And right now, that has been lacking for this Magic team. Boston is so good defensively that it is certainly going to be a team effort no matter what, but I just heard Brandon Kravitz talking about just providing a spark. Just if Cole comes in and hits a couple shots early on and it kind of gets his place juiced up a little bit, that might be enough. But I think Cole needs to, ideally, Cole, AB, guys need to alleviate some of the pressure offensively on Franz Wagner and on Paolo Banchero. And so that can be creating for your teammates. In the case of a Cole Anthony Black, that could just be knocking down some shots if you're Gary Harris, if you're KCP, or if you're Cole as well, spacing the floor. But Franz and Paolo need a little bit of help. And Paolo he's passed every single test that's been placed in front of the guy so far. 2 games into the series, he's averaging 34 points per game, 10 rebounds a game, and 5.5 assists. He is your leader in all of those categories so far through 2 games. And oh, by the way, his 28.6 points per game, we're talking about 9 playoff games, but his 28.6 points per game is the 4th highest for any active player through their first 9 games of their postseason career. Only Luka, LeBron, and Anthony Davis had a higher scoring average through the first 9 games of their playoff career. Of course, in the case of AD and LeBron, that was ages ago. But Paolo is absolutely surpassing expectations and starting to gain a little bit of national attention as well. Now you got to validate it, right? Now we got to make this thing a series here tonight. If you lose this game, the odds would tell you that the series is basically over. 157 times in NBA history in a 7-game series, teams have gone down 0-3, and 157 times those teams have lost in NBA history. Only 4 times have they even forced a Game 7 working their way back into the series. So you lose this one tonight, and certainly the odds are stacked against you, but hopefully you're able to sort of corral some of the energy here in the building tonight. I expect it to be electric. I do expect Boston fans. They travel well. They're one of the flagship franchises of this league, but let's drown those guys out tonight. Let's make sure that the blue is much louder than the green here in the building tonight. El Magico checks in. He says we need Super Cole tonight. Could not agree more with that, El Magico. Will Dawson says role players play better at home in the playoffs. Let's hope one of our lotto tickets catches fire tonight. And let's see. Lies Unplugged. Why is AB not starting? KCP's been playing bad lately. Look, KCP's he's going nowhere as far as the starting lineup goes. But I think your point is taken, Lies Unplugged, which is an awesome screen name. I think AB could very well, if he has one of those games like I was talking about, if he's attacking, if he's effective offensively, if he's rebounding and creating for his teammates, then I can see him on the floor in crunch time to be sure. But KCP's defense is so important. And, I mean, you got to lock in here. Like, obviously, Jaylen Brown was insane in Game 2 and carried you, and his third quarter was really the difference of the game. But Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, in my opinion, are the main reasons that Boston's up 2-0. Peyton Pritchard, 6th man of the year, of course, has scored 33 bench points in 2 games in this series. The Magic's entire bench has scored 34 bench points through 2 games in this series. So Peyton Pritchard is basically a reserve unit unto himself. And then Derek White, he did a much better job in Game 2 than in Game 1 when he had 30, but he hit 2 massive 3 balls in the fourth quarter of that game, 2 of his 3 makes. At 6 rebounds, 5 assists. He's averaging a steal and a block as well. So defending Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, that's what KCP is on the floor to do. And they could be doing even more damage if you don't have the defense that Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is able to bring. With all that said, we need him to be better shooting the basketball as well. He even said that much this morning. He said he liked a lot of his looks. 0 for 9 from three-point range, or 0 for 9 from the field, the other night in Game 2. That's not exactly, or 1 for 9 he was in Game 2. That's not what he expected. That's not what anybody expected when KCP came over this summer. So I do expect a better performance from him, but I don't expect his minutes to budge much at all. Maybe you could, maybe if you expand the bench a little bit, like if Gary gives you 12 to 14 good minutes tonight, then KCP plays closer to 30, 32 minutes as opposed to 36 minutes, and maybe that makes a difference in crunch time. But with all that said, KCP's been a part of this thing all year long, and some of the things he does I don't think necessarily show up in the box score. But the perimeter shooting needs to get better, and obviously needs to get better here within the next couple hours, and that includes just about everybody, KCP notwithstanding. Let's see. Fabio Peluso, my homeboy, says, "Hey Jake, will the arena total blue, or will we have some Celtics fans?" I'm guessing there's going to be some Celtics fans here tonight. There always is, and in fact, looking down, there are some Celtics fans walking right now through the building. Look, we know what it is down here. Central Florida is an area of transplants, and you're starting to feel the buzz and the vibe around town. But when you play the Bostons and the New Yorks of the world, big cities and big franchises that have been around for a long time, and the Boston Celtics are the winningest franchise in NBA history, and they travel well, and they have fans from all over the place who didn't even necessarily grow up in New England. It's just, historically, it's really easy to be a Boston Celtics fan. So they'll be here tonight. All that said, the Magic fans are going to be the ones bringing the juice tonight. And we saw last year, it caught me off guard. I've been doing this for a long time. I remember Game 3 last year going, I didn't realize we had this in us. It was pretty spectacular. Game 6 is maybe one of the best games I've ever broadcasted in my NBA career. So I expect a very special atmosphere here tonight, and hopefully from the opening tap, anybody in this building in green is being drowned out by the rabid Orlando Magic fans and family here at the Kia Center. Getting a look down on the floor right now. We'll see Tristan Da Silva getting some shots up. Real quick before I go, let me just scroll through here and check your comments. Let's see. Marcos Mercado says, "Let's go Magic. We will make the shots tonight." Jay Curve's on his way to the arena. He says he's got to tap in with me today. Jay Curve, come find me. I'm up on the radio deck up here on the 4th floor. If you can make your way up here, I'll be waiting for you, big dog. Very anxious to see what the injury report looks like tonight for the Boston Celtics, and very anxious to see what the start of the game looks like. Magic have done a good job of hanging in there in the first half of both of these games. wouldn't it be, and Philip Rossman Reich actually asked Coach Mosley about this, wouldn't it be nice to play from ahead against this team for once, build up a 6-8 point lead? I know it feels unheard of, but can you harness all the energy in this building early on in this game here today and make Boston play catch up a little bit? When Boston plays catch up, they catch up better than just about anybody else in the league because of the 3-ball, but I'm hoping we're able to jump on them tonight, continue bringing that physicality, attack the bucket a little bit more offensively, maybe get Porzingis in foul trouble, or at the very least, let Porzingis know it's going to be a long weekend here at the Kia Center. And look, this is your season tonight. There's not much else to say. You get this one tonight, it's a series again. You lose this one tonight, and the odds are very much stacked against you as far as this Boston team goes. And look, if they want to play games with the load management, we got an impingement over here. This dude's ankle doesn't feel great. A hamstring strain. We'll sit this one out. Feels like they got their eyes on round 2, and so hopefully the Magic, kind of like a snake laying in the weeds, able to jump up and bite Boston here tonight. And then perhaps if it's a 2-1 series headed into Sunday night, the injury report will be a little bit shorter for this Boston team. That's going to do it for me. Again, 6:30 for the pregame show with Brandon Kravitz. I'll have the call at 7 o'clock, 96.9 The Game here in Central Florida, iHeartRadio app, Orlando Magic app in the listening area. If you're outside of the listening area, you can check us out on Sirius XM or on NBA League Audio Pass. Jake Chapman here with you. Magic, Celtics, game number 3. We are 45 minutes away from the pregame show and about an hour and 15 away from the opening tap. I'll talk to you guys later. Go Magic.
And welcome, guys. Welcome into Courtside Countdown. I'm your host, Kendra Douglas, and we're here. Playoffs, baby. I'm so excited that we get to share this moment with you guys, the fans. I've been reading the comments. I want you guys to keep them coming, keep them going as we get you prepared and ready for today's game. Game 3 of this series with the Boston Celtics. It's been a tough one on the road. You know, the Magic, they lost 0-2 on the road, but we know how Magic fans pack the Kia Center and how excited you guys are to cheer on this team, and we're going to need it. But first, let's go ahead and get to those highlights with the Game 2 in Boston. A tough situation. You know you're going to go into TD Garden, and it's going to be a battle. And with the Magic, they were down 11 at one point in that second quarter, but continuously chipped away at Boston's lead. Paolo and Franz still leading for this Magic squad. Even Wendell Carter Jr. had some bright moments in the game, but fouling, we saw it, really became an issue for this team. Boston shot more than 75% from the free throw line, while the Magic made 15 of their 24 shots from the line. Turnovers, of course, were a huge issue in Game 1, but the Magic, they were able to limit those. They only had 7 in Game 2. 46 points in the paint in Game 2 and 8 more than the Celtics. So there were some highlights. There were some moments. There were some good things going on in Game 2. That third quarter performance, as you know, has just hurt the Magic all season long. They got to figure out a way to come out of the half and just dominate. And I think we're going to see that going into tonight's game. But overall, you know this one, the Magic, they fell in Game 2 against the Boston Celtics. Porzingis, what a moment for him too. He got injured and he hurt himself. He had blood gushing all over from his head. That was one of those incidents where you hate to see someone get hurt, but they fueled that one. They fed off that energy, and Boston really just took control of that game for sure. I want to get to some of your comments and things that you guys are saying. You guys were saying, we got to do this like last year, and let's go Magic. If Tatum plays, no, we're not going to do that. Talking about Tatum, why is AB not starting? That's a great question, but here's the thing that I wanted to remind Magic fans. There is a reason why guys do better coming off the bench and why guys do better starting. You're playing with those guys continuously. You find a groove, you find what works for you, and you're going to stay with that. So don't forget, guys, and when AB comes off the bench, he's been working out with those guys. He knows what to expect. They found a groove with each other. You don't want to mess that up, especially in playoffs. Now's not the time to just up and change things. Now is the time to hone on the little things and just keep grinding from there. But within that too, you know you're going to get a great performance from guys like Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner and P5. I mean, he's just been phenomenal playing in the playoffs for what he's been able to accomplish. Banchero in his second straight playoff series has truly just been a force to watch. He scored 32 points in Game 2, his 5th game of scoring 30 or more in the playoffs. Did not commit a single turnover in that game either. So it's been great to have P5 just dominate in this one. And we have Dan Savage here with us. And Dan, while we're looking at Paolo's highlights, what did you like about his performance and his continuous growth?
No, just so aggressive without, being not taking what's there, really knows how to play make, and his game is just translating so well to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. You look at that tear he went on towards the end of the regular season, he's carried it over and taken it to another level. And for an Orlando Magic team going against the defending champs, a 2 seed, which was capable of being the best team in the league, Paolo has shown up from the start, and regardless of what they're doing to try to take him off his game, it has not worked. He has been a very effective player for the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, no, he sure has. Some of the comments you guys are saying, too. Anthony plays so great in Game 1. Why is he not getting minutes? One of the things that I think, you see is you have to go, and Coach talked about this, too. It's the feel of the game. You can't just put people in place. You have to feel the rhythm of the game. So I think tonight you'll see a lot more production from the bench, and hopefully we don't see so much deep production from the bench too. But you know this too when you look at it. You can't just change things automatically. You're in playoffs. Now it's time to hone in on the little things.
Look, there's no time to waste. In the regular season and regular season games, if a player starts off a little slower, you can give it time, try to work. In the playoffs, look, you're down in the series. You got to look for instant sparks, and I think that's what Jamal Mosley was looking for in Game 2. I think the other factor was foul trouble. You have to shift things around. How do other guys play off each other? That was a part of it. So for the Orlando Magic tonight, I think the best part is to limit the fouls while still defending at a high level and have all your horses available for you in the stable.
Yeah, when you talk about Paolo Banchero, of course you have to talk about Franz Wagner because those two have continuously had great performances. Of course you want to see a little bit more from Franz going into this game, but in Game 2, another good scoring, 20 or more in that game. He had 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals against this Boston team. I mean, yes, we want to see a little bit more. We know he probably wants to knock down some threes for this team. But overall, where have you liked seeing how he's been able to facilitate and help this team out?
No question. He's been a two-way player for the Orlando Magic, just like he's been in the regular season. Been very effective at knifing through this Boston Celtics defense at time, finding his shot both at the rim and in the mid-range. On top of that, he's played high-level defense. And look, when you're defending the type of guys that the Celtics have on their roster, it can wear on your legs a little bit. It can make it a little hard to step into those threes. I think there's some stars throughout the league that, play a little half effort on defense, whereas Franz Wagner does not do that. He gives you high-level effort on both ends, and sometimes I think that can affect his long-range shot. Now, with that being said, I still expect the Franz to shoot better throughout this series, and I expect being back at the Kia Center tonight will help those percentages go up.
Yeah, I completely agree with you on that one, too. Some of the comments in here saying, I missed the Orlando broadcast. Is there any way we can watch a local game broadcast live in Louisiana? Well, guys, we are on FanDuel Sports Network tonight, so if you have FanDuel Sports, you can watch us. So make sure that you lock in with us today, because as soon as I'm done with you guys, I'm going over to FanDuel Sports.
Right.
So
You're busy. You host like 20 shows plus, do the game type thing. And I think you have some special stuff to share with us on the broadcast. So this is not a broadcast you're going to want to miss because I think you've got some good stuff ahead for people watching in on this one.
I sure do. One of the things Will Dawson asked, saying, what do you expect from Anthony Black today? I'll start and then I'll let you start finish that. I personally think you're going to see a better performance from Anthony Black. I think, one, he only played 2 games last year in the playoffs, and that was here in Game 3 and 4. And then you had him play, we're going to
attack tonight.
Attack today. Then you saw him get into Game 2. He came out of the half, and I felt like he had a great, showing for how young he is, how he's still trying to get a flow of the game and what's going on. I expect in a home crowd that he is going to have a good performance tonight as well.
No, when you look historically in the NBA, role players tend to play much better at home in NBA playoff series. And when you add to that fact for Anthony Black that he's so young, and those performances in Game 4 last year were in 30-point plus blowouts for the Orlando Magic, I think now these are his first real minutes where responsibilities placed on him, expectations are there, and maybe he was feeling the moment a little bit. But as he goes through this series, I expect him to get more and more comfortable and be more like the Anthony Black towards the end of the regular season, where there was aggressiveness, that play with the tent, that willingness to get to the rim, and lack of hesitation shooting his corner three-point shot. I think that's what the Magic need out of him. And if they could get a double-digit Anthony Black, effective, aggressive performance tonight, I think that helps turn the tide of this series.
It sure does. And, the team they spoke during shoot-around today, let's check in with them and see what they had to say.
Kenny, just how good is it to feel? How good is it to be home now?
Oh man, it feels great. It's a lot of joy in here. Like, just always feel good to be home, lay in your own bed, be around family. I think we just excited just to be home, get the home energy, home crowd, and just ready to put on the show.
1 and 2 last year to games 3 and 4.
Well, there's a lot of similarities. I think Game 1 in Cleveland lost by 14. Game 1 in Boston lost by 17. Game 2 you lose by 10 in Cleveland. You lose by 9 in Boston. So I think there's the similarities there, score-wise, but the energy of the crowd, the being able to be at home, sleep in your own bed, get your practice reps here in our building, in our facility, and then just our home crowd. And we know exactly how energized they are for us to be back home.
to me, of course, too. And we're not talking about it enough. And I have the shirt right here.
Ooh.
Yes, if you can hold that shirt up real quick. You're playing at home, and you got an everybody in shirt. That's what fans are going to get today when they come to this game. So I want to ask you, because you saw it, I saw it, we saw it, but the importance of home court advantage and what it does to the momentum of a team.
Well, when you look at it last year, let's just break it down. The numbers are very similar. So last season in games 1 and 2 against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Magic lost those games by an average of 12 points.
Yeah.
Games 1 and 2 against the Boston Celtics, almost identical. The Magic lost by an average of 13 points. In games 3 and 4, the Magic won those 2 games by an average of 30.5 points per game. So that's how big of a difference a series could swing, almost a 40-point per game differential. I think the Magic would be happy to see that kind of result. And where does it start? Where does it start for – well, I'll tell you where it starts by everybody being in.
Yes, everybody in.
Take that T-shirt that's on your seat.
Yep.
Put it on.
Yep.
Drown out any green that might be in the arena.
Exactly.
And let them know.
I know, and they also have towels here. They have little light things here too. So they are getting fans prepared and ready to show out here. And I'm so excited because I think it's going to be a sea of blue. It's going to be beautiful. I can't wait to just feel that atmosphere. It was honestly such an out-of-body experience last year seeing that. And Coach Mosley talked about how Game 6 was the turning point. He said that was the one where he felt like the energy really turned into to go their way. So it does matter. And I know guys will say, like, yes, it matters, but they still need to be on their A game. But when you have 1,000 people in here cheering for you, I think that helps your momentum a little bit.
No question. And look, what's one thing the Orlando Magic are missing right now? They're missing 2 of their most high-energy players in Jalen Suggs and Mo Wagner, who are both out for the rest of the season. Without them, it really helps to have the home court crowd behind you and feeding into these guys and supplementing what they're missing from those 2 guys. So I expect the Kia Center crowd to be electric tonight, a sold-out, loud building, and be very reminiscent of what we saw last season.
Let's go ahead and look at the team comparison and talk about this Boston squad because, as we know, it's going to be a tough one. You see Jaylen Brown over there, and you see the numbers and how these teams compare against each other. Of course, we know Jaylen Brown was questionable, dealing with a hamstring, but Tatum, he got moved from doubtful to questionable. We saw both of them out here today warming up.
I sat there and watched both those guys warm up. It looks like they're playing. They did not skip any steps. I'll have to keep an eye on my phone to see if we're getting any updates on those 2. But just on my eye test, it looks like both of those guys are ready to go tonight.
Yeah, and I want to talk about Jaylen Brown. I mean, he had a game high of 36 points. He really filled in the gap with Tatum being out. And what can this team do? They did a really good job. I do want to say by game 1, they did a great job by limiting both those guys to shooting under 20 points. But what can they do going into game 3 to help limit Brown?
Yeah, I think the really hard part is if you do too much to take away Brown and or Tatum, their role players are very capable of killing you.
Yeah.
And we saw that in game 1. I thought in game 2, what they did a better job of was containing a lot of those role guys. Now then the problem becomes what Jaylen Brown could do. I think the very effective thing is you have to defend those guys without fouling them.
Yes.
Because if you start putting people at the free throw line, your offense has to go against their set defense. That then generates opportunities for them in transition. It becomes a spiraling thing. So if you could defend without fouling, I think it helps you on both ends and, helps limit those guys as well. And the second thing, which they did a good job of in game 2, is cutting down on the turnovers.
Yeah.
The less turnovers against these guys, the fewer opportunities of getting transition, the better for the Magic at potentially limiting these guys. Because in my mind, they're both going to try to play because what their opportunity, what they're thinking in their heads is, hey, if we could get game 3 and get these guys, out of it without going back to Boston, we can gain rest before the next series. So let's try to end this as quick as possible. Now it's up to the Magic to not allow that to happen, extend this series, and make these guys that are perhaps playing a little banged up really feel the ebbs and flows of what can go on in a long playoff series.
One player who did get banged up in Game 2 was Porzingis, and we saw that the blood gushing from his head. But overall, he had a great performance too for this team, and I think you're definitely going to see someone who's going to come out a lot stronger. He's going to be taunting these guys too with his energy, and it was so funny being there because the crowd was going wild for him when he left bleeding. So he's going to feed off that energy. How do you slow down a guy like this?
Yeah, no question. When you talk about the Magic's X factors, you talk about guys like Cole Anthony, Anthony Black, and Jonathan Isaac. When you talk about the Celtics X factors, it starts with that guy because he can affect the game both with his rim protection on one end and then his presence at the rim on the other. And when he's engaged, when he's playing top-tier basketball, it shows why he was a top high-end lottery pick because he can really shift the series. And so if the Celtics are getting an engaged Porzingis who's playing at a high level and is fully healthy, he's a load. But Wendell Carter is capable of doing a good job against the top-tier centers in this league. He is very versatile defensively, and we've seen him have some of the best performances in his career at home against the league's best. So that's what I'm expecting out of Wendell tonight.
Yeah, and you see his numbers right there. And in the playoffs, too, I spoke with him a little bit about it today. He said, I've been wanting to be a little bit more aggressive going into the playoffs. He did mention that the hand injury has kind of stopped him a little bit, but he's wanting to move forward from that. He doesn't want to play delicate, I guess you could say. He doesn't want to play like he has an injury. So I've been excited to see. He had 13 rebounds the first game. He had 16 points this second game. He told me today that, he's continuously wanting to find a way to give guys like Paolo and Franz a break, and he can come and help him whenever he can.
Yeah, he had a great and one play we may see in this clip where he just used tremendous footwork and really took advantage of the fact that the Celtics, when he got the ball dumped into him down low, were starting to jump the passing lanes. And I think that's what you have to do. When you see these guys being over-aggressive the pass, right there, get them off their feet and go to the basket. And I think the more we see those type of plays out of Wendell, we're catching the Celtics in their over-aggressiveness. They can really capitalize because they're a very disciplined defensive team, but they can be overly aggressive at times, both jumping passing lanes and trying to block shots. And those are the types of plays they need out of Wendell to capitalize against them.
Yeah, they sure do. I want to get to the best part of our show, which is your storylines. Let's see them and tell us a little bit about what we can expect for tonight's game and what you want to see from this Magic team.
The one area where I thought the Magic regressed a little bit in Game 2 was on the glass. Gave the Celtics too many second chance opportunities. They are too good of a team to do that. The Magic need to end possessions by getting the rebound. Next, defend the three-point line. They've done that great in stretches, but they've had a few lapses here and there, and that swung the course of games. We saw that in the third quarter of Game 2. Got to do a good job throughout of defending the three-point line. And then lastly, defend without fouling.
That's a big one.
That was a big problem in Game 2.
Yeah.
Put him at the line. The whistle might be a little bit more friendly now that we're playing at Kia Center and you have the Magic faithful behind who may take exception to some of those whistles that were blown in Game 2.
Yeah.
So I'm expecting a more friendly whistle, which along with some better discipline could lead to less fouling in Game 3.
What I think is interesting, though, is that head coach Jamal Mosley spoke about that defense today, and he, talked a little bit about, should we lean off of our defense or should we continue to fight? But if you're going to go to the rim and be aggressive like that, you can't do anything but blow the whistle. So I think it's going to be still a very defensive team that you're going to see out there.
Yeah, and I think his message was correct, which is not only do you continue to go to the rim,
Yeah.
but go even harder and make them call it on the other end. Be very physical, play smash mouth basketball. Look, one thing the Orlando Magic do not have a problem doing is being the more physical team, being the tougher team on both ends of the floor, and that's the type of basketball I expect out of this team in Games 3 and 4 being back on their home floor.
Yeah, I'm excited for this one. And don't forget, we still have another game going on. We're going to have a Game 4 on Sunday, so that should be a big one, too. And we'll be right back here, too, talking with you guys. I am excited. And then, of course, if the Magic can continue, which I think they will, you'll see
We're
it
going to
right
make
there.
dude delete that asterisk
Yeah.
for Game 5. That's what I
Yes.
like to see.
Yes, we're gonna head back to Boston. So that is the mission for tonight. Head back to Boston, starting tonight and right here. Well, I have been excited to talk with you about this Magic team, and I'm pumped because next, around 6:30, you can hang out with Dante and the crew from Magic Live, the pregame show. You'll get to hear me with Rashard Lewis on the pregame show, too.
I chatted with
Yes.
Rashard yesterday.
Yes. Oh, see, we are working with that man.
Mhm.
We are having him busy, booked and busy. So make sure that you guys chime in, check in with us, make sure and make sure you guys tap in with us. And oh wait, I think okay, so Drew Holiday is out, Tatum is in, and Brown is in. So no Drew Holiday for tonight's game.
Well, my eyes were correct from what I saw.
Yes.
I looked at those two guys. They did look ready. So up to the Magic to take out the two guys. But that's how I want it.
Yeah.
When you earn your first win over this Celtics team in the postseason, have them at their best. Have them at near full strength with their two top all-star level players in Tatum and Brown. No excuses. Flip the series and really make these guys earn their way to the next round.
I'm pumped. I am pumped
Yes.
for tonight's game. I know I sound so excited. All right, guys, that'll do it for us on Courtside Countdown. Make sure that you guys lock in to FanDuel Sports Network so you can watch us for tonight's game and watch the Magic take on the Boston Celtics for Game 3. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you on Sunday.